Erling Haaland has lived the quote,
"You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain."
His evolution from awkward goal-scoring prodigy to arrogant wind-up merchant has happened rapidly, and it's exactly what the game needs. Why? Because it makes for a better story, and because
there's nothing in the world more powerful than a good story.
Stories help us make sense of the world. They make it easier for our brains to pair information with emotion, and as a result, they can make any scenario more memorable. There's a reason why you're impacted much more when watching your team play compared to another team. You're emotionally invested in the story of your club and its players.
I don't want to say this, I'm really upset, I'm agitated, but the bottle jobs, a lot of them. I'm sorry, all of them.
And what is a necessary ingredient for a good story? A good villain.
I am inevitable.
Sure, heroes are cool, but nothing is more memorable than a good villain. A villain is the force of antagonism that keeps the action moving and the audience engaged. For a hero to be heroic, they have to be challenged. Someone or something needs to be actively working against them. Good villains challenge the hero not only physically, but they're also adept at getting into their heads, and by extension, the audiences, in some way or another. The stronger the villain, the more we want to see the hero succeed. Take the recent game between Arsenal and Manchester City. In this scenario, Manchester City are the obvious villains. They've been utterly dominant over the past decade and have won the last 4 Premier League titles. But in doing so, they've also been subject to 115 charges of breaching financial fair play. Arsenal, on the other hand, have been a team that has rebuilt themselves over the past few years and are chasing their first title in 20 years. So how does the game go? Haaland scores, Calafiori scores, Gabriel scores, Trossard gets sent off, Stones scores, Haaland pegs the ball at Gabriel's head, charges into Partey, tells Arteta to stay humble, and calls Gabriel Jesus a clown. And that's how a villain is born.
I also want to talk about why Erling Haaland didn't get a yellow card and no one's spoken about that when he's basically assaulted Gabriel by throwing a ball at him.
So it was an act of violent contact because, it's like he's not throwing the ball, he's like he could be throwing a punch. What's the difference? The ball is a weapon.
Humility, Danny. Is it important in football? Is Haaland losing it slightly here? And has he got to watch himself?
He's let himself down, I think, at the weekend.
Yeah.
With that Arteta stuff.
Yeah.
And throwing a ball in the back of the centre-back's head as well.
I don't mind that.
At every amateur level, training this week, every youngster, every player playing the game has seen the best striker in the world take the ball out the back of the net and as he's celebrating, throw the ball at the back of the head of another defender who wasn't expecting it.
And I think as you get older, you get wiser. You realise that there are times that ultimately you can just behave in a certain way. You don't need to be full of yourself.
But a villain doesn't think he's a villain. In fact, he's the hero of his own story. And for City fans, he is the hero. As much as other fans might hate him, if he played for their team, their opinion would change. He's given many neutral fans a reason to invest in the unfolding story of this season. Because without the villain, there's nothing to triumph over.
I'm all for what Haaland was doing. I'm all for it. And the Arsenal fans, all I've seen is moaning and whining over the weekend. Ian Wright coming out fuming.
That was a ass move. I know what a bull move is. I know what a cowardly move is.
Yeah, but the beauty of sport, when someone does something like that to you, you'll meet him again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Very, very simple.
We've seen.
Very, very simple.
So what is it about Haaland that makes him perfectly suited to become football's next great villain? Well, firstly, a great villain needs to be a strong and worthy adversary. They shouldn't be weak and easily beaten. Haaland and Manchester City are formidable, but this is football. No team is unbeatable. Secondly, villains should be fun. And Haaland is that. He loves to wind up the opponent and is a good enough player to back up what he says. It's not like he's done some irredeemable, despicable act. He's just being a menace on the football pitch. Something we've seen many times before.
Some people say he should have, but like the little bit of rough and tumble, a bit arguing, Haaland throwing the ball at Gabriel's head It
was funny, wasn't it?
Mate, I was cracking up, seriously.
It was so funny.
But I want that. I was there with my kids going, this is football.
I said, these lads are rock stars now. They're not like when we played. You know what I mean? They're $300 grand a week and all that. They're rock stars. They're they're not the same as us. You know what I mean? I mean, I was at Millwall with fighting in the tunnel, me, Fash, Wisey, Cascarino, Sheringham, the fans are throwing house bricks at you and all that. I know, that's the old real football. Throwing a ball at you and all that kind of thing now. So what? Get on with it.
No, you don't have to be meek and mild on the pitch. You be as confident and arrogant as you want if you're delivering. No,
with an opposing
no problem with any of that.
Yeah.
But that's how he plays. Rooney used to have it. Do you know what I mean?
Luis Suarez and Sergio Ramos are some of football's greatest, but they were never afraid of some bad press, and were all the more memorable for it. Look at basketball. LeBron James in Cleveland, like Haaland at Dortmund, was almost universally loved, but when he joined the Miami Heat, he became the man to beat. He embraced being the villain of the league, and it gave us the legendary Mavericks and Spurs team, who overcame his super team. But it also gave us years of LeBron's dominance, which in itself helped forge his legacy as one of the greatest.
You know, you start to hear the villain, you know, now you have to be the villain, and I started to buy into it. You know, I started to play the game of basketball at a level or at a mind state that I've never played at before, meaning angry.
Erling Haaland now has the chance to do the same. He plays for one of the most hated teams in the world, so it won't do him any favours trying to play the hero.
I chose my path, you chose the way of the hero. And they found you amusing for a while, the people of this city. But the one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail, fall, die trying.
All it took was one game for thousands of fans' obstacle to overcome while asserting his dominance. Both Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola are fired up about it.
We have here to provoke the opponent, to push them, and at the end, what can you do? So we have to, okay, you provoke me, okay, I'm there. You want a war? Now we war.
Well, I prefer this much more than somebody clapping my back after the game saying, well done, you guys are in the right direction, than seeing this reaction. Yeah, this is what I do.
Look at Messi and Ronaldo. Without Ronaldo accepting the villain role during his time in Madrid, Messi wouldn't have been as great as he was. At the same time, there is still a large percentage of people who consider Cristiano Ronaldo the greatest of all time, because his more outspoken and boastful personality left a much greater emotional impact on those who followed his career.
We've got to be careful not to have this group of footballers that are all super well behaved now and always say and do the right thing. You know, that game, I think we all probably enjoyed it for different reasons.
It was competitive.
There was a feistiness about it.
Yeah.
There was something about, the battling between Gabriel and Haaland, all those, even on the bench, people going at each other a little bit.
Yeah. But it all adds to it though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I like
especially when the rivalry is starting to get spicy.
Ultimately, if Erling Haaland does embrace being the villain, it will not only elevate the rest of the league, but the rest of world